Today we're making a twice baked potato. So let's get started with this one. We're gonna start with some aluminum foil and a large russet potato. Now, I really recommend using some really big, hunky potatoes here. If you use anything too small, when we put it back in the shell, it's gonna be hard to hold its form. So get some good sized potatoes. And what I like to do personally, I'll just hit it with a little bit of oil. You can use olive oil, you can use some veg oil like this. I'll just kind of rub it all over. I think that this does a really good job with the skin. If you add a little bit of oil or fat to it, I'm gonna hit it with some kosher salt. Now I'm gonna wrap it up. Now we're gonna put this in a 400-degree oven, and this is the longest part. This is gonna take about an hour, but you do want these potatoes to be nice and tender by the time you get ready to start working with them. So let's go to the oven. Now with a little camera magic, there just happen to be 4 completely cooked baked potatoes in there now. So we're gonna set those aside. These have been cooling off for about 15 minutes. You don't wanna mess with this while it's too hot, trust me. And let's get these unwrapped and let's talk about what this dish really is. All that a twice baked potato is a baked potato that's mixed really well with the perfect combination of ingredients. Now, I love a good baked potato. There's nothing better than, a summer night whenever you don't have a lot of time, you just throw a potato in the oven, keep doing some yard work or something like that, and you come home and it's done. I love that part about it. It's easy, but this is just an easy way to elevate it, and especially for a bigger crowd. If you're doing baked potatoes for a lot of people, this is just the best way to do it in my opinion. Now let's think about what you usually put on a baked potato. For me, I'm usually putting some cheese, some butter, maybe some sour cream, some seasoning. Well, today we're gonna put all of those ingredients into a bowl, mix it together, and then add our potato, put it back in. That's a twice baked potato. Now, by all means, take these ingredients and add to it. I've got some bacon that I just pulled off of the skillet here, crumbled it up into some bacon bits. I love adding that fresh bacon flavor to it. You could go with some garlic if you wanted like a roasted garlic twice baked potato. I've done that before. So add to this as you see it. One of my favorites though is a ranch baked potato. We use some ranch packets for the seasoning packets and just mix that in there with it. It goes really well with these twice baked potatoes. I do have some heavy whipping cream. You could use some milk and sour cream if you want to. This is a really, really versatile recipe that allows you to mess up a little bit if you want to. There's a lot of room for error here, and you can tweak it as you're putting your filling together. Now, I'm usually using a cheddar cheese. I wanted to use this smoked Gouda. I've done that before. I had this left over, so I want to go ahead and use that, but any kind of cheese worked good here too. I'm gonna start with my butter. I've got about 1.5 sticks, 2 sticks here. I'm only doing 4 potatoes because it's just me and one other person here, but do this to fit however many people you have. The full recipe will be written on our website. You can find that in the description on YouTube. But you gotta also remember, this is gonna have, these 4 potatoes will be 8 presentable dishes for the final thing here. So we'll set these aside. So we've got our butter. I'm gonna go ahead and add our bacon. I'm gonna go ahead and chop up some of this green onion. I really like this green onion flavor in there. I would definitely say it's optional, but I like to cut up the whites of it, and then I'll save the greens and we'll garnish with that. I'll go ahead and cut that up now so we can garnish with the tops of this green onion later. Now we've got some salt and pepper here, but I'm gonna go ahead and use this crow of beef rub. It's got salt, pepper, garlic, and onion in it, so it's gonna add even more flavor. We're gonna mix all this up really well, so I'm gonna go ahead and just add everything one at a time, and then we're gonna cut the potatoes up and put that in there, and that's gonna kinda help it melt. Now we've got a bit of smoked Gouda here. I'm gonna go ahead and shred that up. Let's add this to the bowl. And then I'm going in with a splash of this cream. Now I'm not gonna add too much just yet. We're gonna let the potatoes get in there and mash that up because we may wanna add more, but we obviously don't wanna add too much of this cream. It's gonna be hard to kind of thicken that back up after we've added too much. So we're just gonna add a little bit now, give this a good mix, add our potatoes, and add more later if we need to. Okay, so this is an important step here. You wanna make sure you cut this as evenly as possible, right down the middle with a good sharp knife. That way, once we get ready to, it'll hold itself up. Now we're gonna carefully take our potato and start scooping it out. Just be careful to try to keep the shell intact as much as possible. And don't be afraid to leave a little bit in there. That'll still get a good flavor from once we add that filling back into it. You can really get all of it out then. But if you take too much potato out, it's gonna be hard for it to keep its shape. So just kind of carefully scoop it out without getting too much so it'll stay together. I'm gonna call it that good for now. I'm gonna set it up just like that so it doesn't try to hold itself up with no support in it just yet. We're gonna do that for all these potatoes here. Okay, so I did a pretty poor job of salvaging those. That's why they're so, you gotta be careful, they're so fragile. And I probably got a little bit too aggressive trying to get all the potato out of it. So don't try to get too aggressive like I did, but we still have plenty of potatoes here for me and my wife. So let's get to mixing this. And we're not necessarily turning this into a mash, but I do want to break it up quite a bit so it's easier to pack into those potato shells a little bit tighter. But we're not concerned with getting these too fine like you would if it were mashed potatoes or anything like that. But as long as we mix this well, every bite should be very consistent. Whereas with a baked potato, some bites, the bites on top are great. You're gonna have a lot of butter, a lot of sour cream, whatever you're adding to it's gonna have plenty of it on top. But once you get down to the bottom there's no flavor there other than the potato. So that's why I really like this. And it's so versatile. Like I said, you can really do a lot with it. One other thing I've done quite a bit is I'll just take this potato here after it's been baked and mix it up, and we'll put it in a casserole dish with cheese on top, and you have a baked potato casserole. Same thing here, especially maybe you had worse luck than I did and you don't have any shells left to add back to it. Go ahead and put that in a casserole dish and we're gonna bake it for a few minutes. That's gonna be the same principle. It's just not necessarily as pretty of a presentation, but it works all the same. Okay, so I've got an aluminum full line tray here. We're gonna take our shells, we're gonna lay them on here nice and gently. Hopefully you can get it to sit upright to some degree. It doesn't have to be perfectly level, but it does help a little bit. Now I'm gonna take a smaller spoon here. We're just gonna fill it in there. You don't wanna overdo it too much. Just gonna take it and fill it up to the top. Okay, so now let's finish this up. I'm gonna hit it with some more of this beef rub. And then to finish, I'm gonna hit it with some shredded cheese on top. Got some Colby Jack here. You could use cheddar, whatever you want, but this is gonna also help with the presentation. That melted cheese looks really good on top at the end there. Now we bumped the oven down to 375 for this, and we're gonna go back in. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes and these things look so good. Check that out. That cheese is nice and golden and melted. I'm gonna finish it here with some green onion. Even if this tastes awful, you can be happy putting this on a dinner guest plate because it looks so good. This is such an appealing and appetizing way to do this, if you ask me. Much better than a baked potato. Now there's nothing wrong with that, but this is just an elevated way to do that. Now, as for the taste, let's give this thing a try here. It's gonna be hot, I can already tell, but I'm not waiting any longer. Everything's just mixed together so well. I actually really like that smoked Gouda too. I usually use cheddar, that gives it a smoky finish. Now I'm going down to the very bottom of this potato. Everything's mixed all together. I got more bacon there. That's one thing I love about this is every bite's gonna be the same. Go give this one a try, you'll be happy you did.
The full recipe can be found at crowfood.com, along with our rubs, merchandise, and dozens of other great recipes. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and as always, thanks for watching.